Welcome to Rulings with Auke, episode 4. Today's episode fully focuses on Drill Warrior, and more specifically, its final effect. Now, its final effect is, in a sense, a response to its second effect. Now, what you can do with Drill Warrior is once per turn during your main phase, you can discard one card and banish this card. It says remove from play, but problem-solving card text, banish. During your next standby phase, special summon this card, if removed by this effect. Then add one monster card from your graveyard to your hand. Now it's all about this part of the effect, which is an effect on its own. Now let's say Auke has Drill Warrior, and uses the effect. Discards a card, removes Drill Warrior from play during main phase. Now, discarding the card is not a cost. That's already something important. Something extra I'll throw into this. Now the question is, Auke pauses turn, Neaton's turn draws, decides to not do anything, whatever, doesn't matter, ends. And by the way, the reason DD crawls in Spell and Trap Zone, that's supposed to be Neaton's hand, but I came up with the idea of adding DD Crow as an extra ruling in there at the end, and I just happen to still have it in the Auke 193 rulings, like the rulings with Auke deck, but not in Neaton's deck. So I have it in the Spell and Trap card zone there, but it's supposed to be Neaton's hand, but Neaton can't have it in his hand because it's Auke's card. That's why. But yeah, Auke now starts his turn, and Drill Warrior. During your next standby phase, this is the next standby phase after the effect was used. During your next standby phase, special summon this card, if removed by this effect. Then add one monster card from your graveyard to your hand. Now the question is, for this ruling episode, multiple actually. First one, can the effect of Drill Warrior be stopped? Well, no. Like, can any of these cards respond to either the effect's activation or to Drill Warrior's summon through the effect that I just went over? Torrential Tribute, Solemn Warning, and Bottomless Trap Hole. Can any of them be used against Drill Warrior when either its effect activates or when it's summoned to the field? I'll get to that in a moment. Now the same with DD Crow. Well, not necessarily the same, but Drill Warrior adds a monster from the graveyard to the hand. DD Crow can banish a card from the opponent's graveyard if discarded. Now, can Neaton here discard DD Crow to be able to select from Auke's graveyard the monster that Auke wished to add to his hand, to be able to make that adding effect from Drill Warrior useless? Can that happen? Let's first look at Torrential Tribute and Bottomless Trap Hole, since they are the same. So, Drill Warrior special summons itself. But the special summon and the adding a monster from graveyard to hand are part of the same effect. And due to the word then, there's some really important words there. There's some Konami articles that you should definitely read. Then, also, and if you do. There's one more. But those words really mean a lot. Like, do they happen simultaneously? Do they happen separately? Does the first need to happen for the second to be able to happen? Such things. But the word then here in Drill Warrior's effect shows that the second part of the effect, the adding monster to the graveyard to hand, while being part of the same effect, does happen after the first part. So first the summon, then the adding. It does not count as happening simultaneously. So that's what happens, and wants to add Thunder King Ryo back to hand, for example. Yeah? Now, can you use Bottomless or Torrential? No. Why not? They've missed the timing. Now, how do those things miss the timing? They're not a when you can effect. Okay, I can see where you're coming from, but remember, when you can, or when optional effects, can miss timing. These do not say you can, however, they are still technically optional. Because when an opponent summons a monster, you can choose to activate Torrential Tribute or Bottomless Trap Hole. You are not forced to. So it is a you can. So they both missed the timing because the last thing that happened was not the summon. It was adding the card to the hand. So both Torrential Tribute and Bottomless Trap Hole cannot be used here. So that's a nice way of getting around Bottomless Trap Hole and Torrential Tribute with Drill Warrior if you have a monster in your graveyard. Now let's go to the example of Solemn Warning. Can that be used? Let's go back to just before it was activated. Drill Warrior activates. Can Solemn Warning respond? Solemn Warning can negate two kinds of things. It can, one, negate inherent summons, whether normal summons or special summons, so any summon that does not come from starting a chain. And it can negate effects that do start a chain that include an effect that special summons a monster. Now, Drill Warrior's effect that summons it, like its final effect, is a trigger effect. So that starts a chain. So it's not an inherent summon. However, due to it including him being special summoned, Solemn Warning can be used in response to the activation of Drill Warrior's effect to have it negated. Drill Warrior will then stay in the banished pile and will stay there because it was negated. Final example. I'll just leave Solemn Warning here because it doesn't really matter anymore. DD Crow. Can DD Crow banish the monster that the Drill Warrior player wished to banish? Now, add to hand. No. The adding part to hand, if you would want to know which card they would add upon resolution before they actually resolve the effect, the Drill Warrior player would have to target that card. However, Drill Warrior's effect does not target the monster in the graveyard. The monster added back to hand is chosen upon resolution. So Drill Warrior's effect activates, and there clearly are monsters in the graveyard. 5. So any of these 5 will be able to be added. But since the monster is not chosen upon resolution, would Neton, in this case, wish to use DD Crow, discard it, then Neton would have to guess or think logically which card Auke would want to add to their hand. Most likely, seeing as there is no dragon seen, Red Azrak's Metal Dragon will not be added. So the strongest and best effect-wise would be Thunder King Ryo. So let's say DD Crow is chained to the activation of Drill Warrior, Neton would here likely banish Thunder King Ryo. Now that was the intention of Auke to add the Thunder King Ryo. However, seeing as the target is only chosen upon resolution of the effect, Auke can now perfectly fine choose a different card to add to his hand. In this case, selecting Alligator Sword. So that was the Rulings with Auke episode for today. We've looked at Drill Warrior against Drill Warrior's final effect against the summon response from Torrential Tribute and Bottomless Trap Hole, Drill Warrior's final effect against Solemn Warning, and its final effect against DD Crow. I hope you learned something from this episode. If you have any further questions regarding the matter, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will be as clear as I can to answer your questions and problems to make sure that you understand the ruling as well. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode.